Hey, yo, what up? It's your girl Bewitched Faun coming in with episode 5 of Faun's Horror Corner, a series where I watch a random horror movie from Tubi and we go over it. This week I watched the movie Jessabelle from 2014. The description Tubi gave us is: a young woman returns to her estranged father's home after a traumatic accident and encounters a tortured spirit that wants to keep her there. Now, full disclosure, normally I do predictions, but the Tubi gods have spoke and I have seen this movie before. Granted, that was maybe 10 years ago with my mom and my aunt, but still it didn't feel right. So instead, we will just be getting straight into the movie. In the opening scene, we meet Jessabelle and her boyfriend, who is moving out so they can move in together and have a baby. They get into the truck and get a move on, but in no time it goes wrong and we get the title card. Jessie is in the hospital now. She can't currently walk, and we do learn that she lost the baby and her boyfriend. A doctor is talking to her about physical therapy. She needs to live somewhere, but her mother passed and her father passed her off to her aunt. However, out of choices, she calls her dad. Now she is on her way to live with her estranged father. We get a nice driving scenery scene and we pull up to her dad's house. He pulls the wheelchair out and helps her out of the car and into the house, which kind of gives me Resident Evil 7 vibes. Jessie thanks him for picking her up and he says no problem and says sorry for her loss. Then he moves this cabinet out of the way because it was blocking the door to her mom's bedroom, which is where she'll be staying as the other bedrooms are upstairs. The amount of dust in this room probably has enough to knock me on my ass. He gets Jessie into the bed and gives her some old clothes, offers food, and leaves her alone. Jessie goes through the bag feeling nostalgic, and now it's nighttime. She's looking out the window and into the dark woods. The house looks creepy at night. She can't seem to sleep, which is understandable. There's some humming nearby and she looks around only to see someone sitting in her wheelchair. She pulls the curtain, but now no one's there. Have fun trying to sleep after that. It's a new day. She's calling for her dad and moving through the house. She finds a radio and turns it on, and we get a bit of Jessie just chilling and vibing to the music, but then it gets weird and she hears a woman crying through the radio. But hold that thought, because the phone is ringing, and it seems like it's upstairs. She goes back to her room and looks through the dresser. She scores some books, finds some tarot cards. There's something shiny on the wall, but it fell and rolled under the bed. In an attempt to get it off the floor, she fell and found a box underneath the bed. It has tapes with Jessie's name on it, so she put them in the VCR player. It's her mom making tapes for her. Her mom seems really sweet and charming. She's giving Jessie a birthday tarot reading and says she's real good at it. She pulls death and says that it means that her 18th year is a year of transition. The next card is unidentified, but she says that it means that Jessie has never left St. Francis and will never leave. The next card is about water and asks Jessie if she's a swimmer. Nope, she can't swim. She's not getting much right. Her mom says she's not alone and there's a presence, maybe a guardian angel, and it's female, and she wants you out of the house because it's hers. Jessie's dad suddenly appears. He is not happy about her finding the tape. He breaks it and moves Jessie into a chair and tells her no more snooping. He takes her chair to the dock and tosses it into the water. Father of the Year award. Now it's nighttime, and Jessie is dreaming about her mom. But don't forget that this is a nightmare. She sees herself being worked on as she's being transported. She sees some ritualistic shit and gets a mask put on. Then she wakes up and sees someone in a wheelchair approaching, which gave me goosebumps. Now they're right up to her and are reaching out. No thanks. Jessie asks who they are. They say Jessabelle, as they keep reaching and she rolls over. Now it's the next day. There's a wheelchair next to her bed. She moves to the kitchen, and I can really see her dad's caterpillar eyebrows here. He apologized about last night. He says that the chair was her mother's. He explains that he didn't know she actually made the tapes, and he was just taken really off guard by it. Jessie says she only found the one tape, and that's it. Now her dad is leaving with some guy, and Jessie is alone. Jessie looks to the lake and sees some shinies and goes back to the tapes. Her mom mentions the weird stuff from the reading she did. She asked her friend Moses from church about it. He said there are two female presences in the house, and they are both her. It's a demon, but an inner demon. She mentions her being in some kind of accident and says it wasn't your fault and don't blame yourself. Now it's time for a new reading. Death again. 2 cards pulled and she's getting unnerved. She says she sees a very horrible death and ends the tape. Jessie took a nap after that, but now there's creaking above her. She calls for her dad, but there's a loud crash above her. Now someone's knocking, but it's just her physical therapist. She gets Jessie into the bath and leaves her for a moment, but it's gotten pretty dark, the door is closing, and there's something in the water. Someone is in with her and they're reaching towards her. Jessie starts humming, and the guest really didn't like that and pulls Jessie under. Jessie gets out of the tub, but so does the guest. Jessie gets vommed on, and her dad gets through the door and no one else is there. Her dad is pretty pissed, which is understandable. He figured out that there are more tapes, and he knew they would scare Jessie. He says that 5 weeks into her pregnancy, the mom had tumors in her brain, and she wouldn't do chemo or anything, so the tumors ate her mind. The dad says he's going to burn the tapes. Jessie watches him through the window. He grabs gasoline, pours it on them, lights up, then he ends up getting lit himself and locked into the shed. And all Jessie can really do is watch. He calls for Jessie, but the flames are too much and she can't get far enough to help. Now we're at his funeral. We meet her high school friend Preston. He seems sweet. He tried to call, but since the phone is upstairs, she can't really answer. But she sees she's being stared at, and one of the people is familiar. It's the burnt man from her nightmare. And then she passed out. We're back at the house and Preston is sleeping by Jessie in the wheelchair, but a spirit is reaching out and he wakes up. It's the morning and Preston needs to get going, but he offers to come back. Jessie asks him not to go though because she needs to talk to somebody. Jessie gets to leave the house now. She gets brought to a diner and they catch up a bit. She asks how he's been. Well, he's married, and she is disappointed. She tells him she's been having vivid nightmares that feel real. She tells him about the girl who's dead, the burnt man, and the tapes. Preston gets the tapes out of the burn barrel and they watch them, but he doesn't think that she should watch them. Her mom got a lot of facts wrong and they're just scaring Jessie. But Preston has to leave as his wife is calling. He hands Jessie his work cell and says to call if she needs anything. Jessie wants an adult drink, but she drops the mug because a bug crawls on her. Same though. She's reading and drinking, which is kind of a vibe, but those tapes are calling her name and she pops one in. It's her dad and mom on a picnic, then in their house. Her dad actually seemed happy and it's kind of sad to watch. It's a Christmas party and they announce their pregnancy to the party. She puts in another tape that isn't dated. Her mom is sobbing over a tarot reading. She says, "You're already dead, Jessabelle." Then the tape ends. The alcohol does some poltergeist shit, so she calls Preston. But his wife answers as she doesn't like that it's Jessie. She looks out the window and sees a bunch of fire across the lake, but glass shattering captures her attention. Something is upstairs. There's heavy footprints running around and she gets moved in front of a mirror. She moves closer and reaches towards the mirror, but it shatters and she finds more tapes in the wall. Now, real talk, I get so freaked out by mirrors, particularly in spooky situations. I was raised with a superstitious and spiritually open family, and mirrors tend to freak a lot of us out as they're kind of viewed as like a portal or dimension. It's hard to explain. But all this shit, like if I have a mirror in my bedroom, I have to cover it 90% of the time, particularly at night, or it freaks me out. I don't know why I had to info dump, but I had to. Now it's the morning and Jessie wakes up. She goes to the dock and soaks in the sun and looks into the woods where she saw the fire. Preston is here now and checks in. He asks her to tell him what happened, but they're sidetracked by the shiny things across the lake. So they take a boat across the lake. They see some voodoo shit as they approach. I'm a New Englander, and I would be turning my ass around. I don't fuck with that. They see a bunch of glass or mirror shards strung up and pull up to what looks like a gravesite. They park and take a look. Someone's recently been there. Something is floating up in the water and Preston goes straight in to investigate. Aren't there gators? Well, no worries. It's just a baby doll. Preston clears up the gravestone and it says Jessabelle with her birthday on it. Understandably confused, they throw theories about a sister, but it doesn't sound likely. They decide to dig up the grave. Major fuck no. There's something hard buried under there. Preston pulls it out and it looks like a casket. Of course he opens it. And yep, there's a skeleton. A young one, too. They inform the police and they take some DNA from Jessie and they'll keep her posted. Preston doesn't want to leave her at that house, so he takes her to his, and his wife is not happy. Initially, I thought I recognized her as Snow White in Once Upon a Time, but it turns out I recognized her as Maggie from Pretty Little Liars, so that tripped me out a bit. She is not happy about Jessie being there, needless to say. Preston helps her onto the couch and they call it a night. Now they're driving, heading to Woodbury. They're visiting her family's old cook to find out about the identity of the baby. We meet Mrs. Davis, and she isn't totally all there, but she remembers Preston. So he introduces Jessie, and her tone changes. And she is not happy, and she spits out some unknown things in a language I don't know. But luckily, a guy is there to translate. It's a song from Haiti to call on spirits to possess someone. Then she pulls Jessie's hair and says, "Tell Moses Jessabelle will get what is coming to her. Thank you, Grandma." Understandably, they leave. We learn about the voodoo practice from Preston, and he mentions that possession is common in voodoo. Jessie mentions Moses in the church, so that's where they're headed next. But they're blocked by a tree. They leave the vehicle and investigate what looks like an altar or shrine. Preston goes over and finds a picture of Moses, so it appears to be a shrine to him. But a group walks up and tells them to leave, and they are armed. They start beating on Preston and tell them to leave again. So they do. They're back at her dad's house, but he doesn't want her to stay. But she definitely doesn't feel welcome at his place, so he offers his mom's place instead since she adores Jessie. He helps her out of the car and they're getting her packed up. She takes her mom's tarot cards and hands Preston the bag. He tosses it in and gets the door ready for Jessie. So he carries her out and into the car and hops in. But That's not Jessie. And now the front door is closed. Preston is fighting off the ghost girl, but nothing seems to work and she knocks him out. Jessie calls for Preston and moves outside to find him out cold on the ground. The ambulance gets called and he's taken away. The cop enters and says ultimately he's in shock, but he'll be fine. No DNA results yet. But the body was female, and the date on the grave is accurate. She was born alive and then got unalived. The cop says that it looks like someone picked her up and snapped her over their knee. She asks the sheriff to give her a call when Preston wakes up, so he leaves. Jessie tries speaking to the girl, but to no avail. Now she's lit candles and tries again. She asks, "Who are you?" And the answer is Jessabelle. "What do you want?" Her phone is ringing, and it's the sheriff. Preston came too, and he's okay. Preston wants to go back to the house with Jessie, but also they got the results back from the DNA test. He informs Jessie that the girl that was dug up was black. Jessie is confused, but the TV is doing some weird shit, and now there's a tape. She puts it in, and it's a baby crying. Her mom looks rough. She says, "You're dead, Jessabelle, and so is your father Moses." She says, "You're gonna come back, and she will hold the door open." She says, "Jessabelle, you're gonna get what's coming to you," and the video ends. Jessie turns around to see her mother. She states that the unwanted presence in the house is herself. Her mom was telling someone else's fortune, her actual daughter's fortune. Her father killed the baby out of rage because it wasn't his. He tossed the corpse into the bayou, then went to finish off Moses and lit his place up, and the mom offed herself. Her dad adopted a girl to cover up what happened. That girl being the Jessie we know. Moses' church gave the real Jessabelle a proper grave. She asked her mom what she can do. Then Moses walks in. The two tie Jessie up and get her moving outside. They mark her forehead with the same mark on the original Jessabelle. Then her mom wheels her down to the dock. Preston and the sheriff pull up as Jessie is wheeling down the dock and then into the water. Jessie is struggling in the water, stops moving, and original Jessabelle is swimming towards her and takes her bracelet. Then she swims to the surface and Jessie emerges. Preston is running to get her out of the water. The two kiss, and that is not the same Jessie. That's Jessabelle. And that is the movie. Let's get into my final thoughts. I loved this movie, which actually surprised me because, as I stated, I watched this about 10 years ago, and I don't think I enjoyed the ending at the very least, like, at that time, but I think I just didn't understand it, or maybe I didn't like having an unhappy ending. But now, as an adult that's been through hell and back and many movies later, I think this was great, ending included. I mean, the whole movie was leading up to that switch pretty much, and I thought it was well done. The lead up, the scares, I don't know, I loved it. The one thing I didn't like was the shaky cam in some parts of it, like Preston fighting Jessabelle. Shit makes me feel sick when it's like that brutal, but still. That's a minor complaint through like a whole good movie. The story was really interesting and I found it to be unique, and I highly recommend watching it yourself because it's shot super well. I won't rant much more though. Thank you for watching if you stuck around. These will be uploaded bi-weekly to give me more time to work on them and have a life. I will link my social media, however, I'm not super active on much other than YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you want. I can't tell you what to do. Stay safe and spooky, y'all.